What is up, guys? We're back to you with a bonus episode of Opoom this week. Netflix just released their 103 Mercies Dragon Damnation Monster series. It's a one-off. It's the one-off that sparked Ryuma way back when, before One Piece was even a thing. So this is just a lot of backstory based off, again, a one-off manga Oda wrote. So all technically canon to One Piece, but man, we finally got an anime adaptation, and I gotta say, I'm a big fan.
Mm. Now, did you read the original before watching
I
this,
did
or did you
not
just
read
jump
the
in?
original.
All right.
Yeah, no, I wanted to go in as blind as possible.
Okay. Yeah. And you liked it, you said?
I did.
Very good. I also liked it.
Okay, I was like, wait,
So,
is it bad if I see
thumbs
the
up.
original first?
No, no, not at all. I think going into it, because I meant to read it well before I watched this, just so I could kind of, digest it in my head and stuff. But I read it like maybe 10 minutes before I turned this on. And it's a really faithful adaptation, honestly.
Good.
I was honestly surprised at how much they didn't flesh out and how much they didn't really change anything. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more as we get into it.
Okay, so basic overarching plot. We are introduced to Ryuma, who's much more of like a Luffy Zoro hybrid than the Ryuma we know in the show. Much goofier, much hungrier, and like way more serious, but without the apparent skill to back it up at a first glance. And we just
Hmm.
see him kind of getting laughed out of town, and he's a wandering swordsman, and he challenges this great swordsman in town. What was his name? Like Mirio? Mirio?
It was Hirano.
Shirano, that's it, Shirano. Who definitely looks very Mihawk esque, has like the wide brimmed hat and a fancy mustache. Definitely has
Now,
yeah,
hear me out.
go
He's a
ahead.
mix between Mihawk. He's definitely proto Mihawk for sure, but
Oh,
he also
100%.
reminded me of Thunderlord McGuy, if you know who he is.
I don't know who he is.
He is one of the Whitebeard pirates. He has a big mustache shaped like the lightning bolt. He is a swordsman.
Okay, yeah, no, now that you say lightning bolt mustache, okay, I see
Hmm.
it. There definitely
Hmm.
there's inspiration taken from him there 100%.
So yeah, I could totally see that being inspiration for Thunderlord McKay.
But
But
we
yeah,
see Ryuma challenge Shirio. That's not his name.
no, Shirano.
Shirano, so close. We see him challenge and lose the duel on the spot, so we know that he's a very competent swordsman, but everyone's still impressed with Ryuma's skills. So Ryuma
Hmm.
goes walking around town and finds some more trouble, this time challenging a crappy swordsman, who then blames him with a dirty trick. Long story short, a dragon summoned to the town and everyone blames Ryuma. So Shirano tells them all to evacuate, and since he's the hero, they listen. And the second they're gone, Shirano reveals, I'm actually just going to loot the town now and then burn it to the ground, and nobody will be the wiser. And Ryuma steps in, cuts him down, slays the dragon, saves Wano, which we were definitely in.
Hmm. Totally Wano. And I think that's gonna be where I jump in because this is, like I said, a very faithful adaptation. And reading Oda's notes in the back of the after the one shot, it was very much I just wanted to make a cool story where someone killed a dragon in a double page spread, but add a little bit of a western flair, add a little bit of a samurai flair to it as well. So the fact that this special tried to put that into Wano and like not even like questionably, like we definitely got that post credit scene, which was new,
Mm-hmm.
of Zoro in Thriller Bark getting the sword from Ryuma. So that's more or less confirmation. I mean, we knew this was canon well before this, but um, trying to shoehorn this into Wano, they didn't make any real changes. So I just thought that was an interesting point for
What I
sure. That
really
maybe.
was so surprised with, especially not having read it, was just the
Hmm.
Ryuma we meet in Wano is a badass swordsman, and he's super competent and capable, and he's like always got the upper hand on Zoro. And then this
Hmm.
Ryuma is just like a goofy goofball who he's a goof. Like he's so
Yeah.
lighthearted and he laughs and he gets ignored while he's going on a big speech about how his honor means everything to him, and it's very comical.
Hmm.
Um yeah, I guess
Yeah.
my favorite little portion of text they have is somebody mentions him, the like the king who's the greatest swordsman of all time, and Ryuma's like, "Man, I'd like to fight him someday." Like, well,
Hmm.
nobody knows who he is or what he looks like. And then at the end, it's revealed that the king is a legend, and he's just a wandering swordsman named Ryuma. But not even Ryuma knows he's the legend he's hunting.
Hmm.
So it really was just this cute little like he's so humble but competent, but like not too big for his britches.
Hmm.
Very good
Hmm.
story. Really enjoyed it. Quick, succinct, fun.
Yep. Yep. And I think that's why I give it major props because when I was reading it, it came across to me as a little like simple, but I had to keep in mind this is a one shot. This is a
Exactly.
19-year-old Oda writing this. Like this is extremely early for him. But it does come together, and that twist at the end kind of puts a nice little bow on top of everything, and I really did appreciate that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Ryuma. You mentioned how his characterization felt a little different here,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not wrong. I agree with that 100%. But I do think it is pretty characteristic of how Oda likes to write his main characters, especially, I see this and I look at, arcs like, even Romance Dawn or
Yep.
Mocktown where this character that's actually a badass is kind of made to look the fool, and that's something that Oda likes to play with a lot. So you get Proto Zoro here, which is just what I'm going with because he is Zoro, but with some of Luffy's characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it just kind of makes sense that this is for this being a faithful adaptation, they would stick to that, and they didn't really change that because otherwise the story doesn't work. But I'm losing my point here. I don't remember where I was going with that, but
Neither do
yeah,
I. But no, I really like that. We see him modern day, and he is just such a cool, tough, badass guy.
Mhm.
I really expected going into this one. I didn't predict a plot at all. At least before I watched it, I was able to call the plot twist pretty early on.
Yeah.
But I was expecting like a tough Ryuma, and they're like, "Ryuma, save us from the dragon!" And he was just gonna
Hmm.
do it and be really cool. But no, I mean, he was laughed out of town. He was told to go unalive himself. Man,
Yeah.
he was fighting them, and everyone's just like, "Ah, shut up, guy." Like
Hmm.
it really was just like, a Luffy flavored Zoro. And like
Hmm.
you said, Oda does it all the time. Introduce someone, make them look the fool, but it turns out they're actually really cool and badass the whole time. Like take Bon
Hmm.
Clay for example. I suspect if we ever get Garp's backstory, we'll see him as a much more Luffy-like kid.
Hmm.
Uh, like it's just he's not unrecognizable, but you can tell he's definitely aged with a lot of wisdom and maturity.
Yeah. And you can even point to someone like Odin, from
Exactly, yeah,
much more
like dancing
recently.
in the
Like,
street naked.
yeah, and even before that, like he was eating Odin on a dead body at a funeral pyre. Like he's just a goofball. Like so, it's something Oda likes to play with a lot, and it's
So yeah,
shown
I
very early
like
on.
that even way back then that was the character arc he went with was
Hmm.
goofy to mature, and he just pulls it off so well because we know how
Hmm.
cool Ryuma gets, and we know
Yep.
this guy's incredibly competent but has no respect, and I really liked it.
Hmm.
So I did
Hmm.
allude to a plot twist earlier. Man, I've already forgotten his name. Shinto again.
Yes.
Uh,
Sure enough.
him too. It's
Yep.
revealed
All
that
right.
he's actually the bad guy. He's thought to be the greatest swordsman in the world who fought the dragon last time, but it turns out he summoned the dragon, killed all the villagers, and took their money, and then took credit for doing the best he could to save them. So everybody loves him. So when he tells them to leave the village this time, everyone's like, "Oh hell yeah, we'll listen to you, guy." And
Hmm.
then like you just get to see him become the villain. And as soon as he was introduced, I was like, "Yeah, he's too good to be true. Like something's up here. Something is amuck.
Hmm.
There is some missing going on."
Interesting, because when I read it, the moment when Ryuma throws his sword out past Flair's head and he's like, "Don't turn around." I'm like, "Wait, is the dragon here?" And then I saw him looting with that other guy. I'm like, "Oh shit!" It actually got me.
Yeah, no, I saw like for a minute there, I was like, maybe I was just being too suspicious. Maybe he is the good guy and he's gonna have a heroic death. And then that happened. I was like, oh no, I was
Hmm.
right.
Yeah.
So speaking of
No.
his other guy, Doctor Orb, the lackey sidekick of the duo, I can't confirm there's any relation between them, but doesn't he look like that bat guy from Thriller Bark a lot?
A little bit. I really. Yeah.
That's
I
I
see
saw
it.
it and that's all I could see the whole time. And I'm not saying like is that his ancestor? Does it go all the way back there? I just think it's weird
Hmm.
that Ryuma shows up in Thriller Bark and this guy who looks like he's from Thriller Bark kind of might have something to do with it. I don't know.
Hmm.
I thought it was a weird connection.
Yeah, no, that was actually one change I did notice is that he's a little taller, looks a little bit more normal in the original one shot. Here they kind of play up just how goofy looking he is.
Which I
But yeah.
appreciate because it is
Hmm.
technically kind of a One Piece property, and what they do is goofy characters.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
for sure.
I mean, overall, I was so happy watching this. I really just wanted to see where it would go, and didn't deliver at all what I expected. But I'm so happy with what we got in classic Oda fashion.
Yeah, it really is just a fun, short little jaunt in a western town, and some guy gets to kill a dragon. You
Like
know,
I really thought, with all the hype around Ryuma about how he's the greatest samurai and Shusui
hmm
is our national treasure, I really thought he'd be like well respected and loved and admired. In this entire thing, he's just getting ripped apart by the town, who calls him a deadbeat and a murderer and hate him. And even before
hmm
all that, he was just starving to death in the streets. Nobody cared about him.
hmm
But no, he's got the heart of a true warrior, and man, I love that for his character. I really do. It makes him
hmm
less of a legend and more of a man.
Yeah, he's an endearing character because like he's with that wanderer who doesn't he's starving, he's looking for the next
Yeah,
meal,
but
but
he's
he's
not in
also a
it for the
badass.
fame or the glory or the power. He's just
Hmm.
here because he's a real warrior.
Yep, he just happens to be walking through town and oh shit, this guy's got a dragon horn.
I
So.
loved what was it when they mentioned like the warrior king, like I said, who's the greatest swordsman
Mhm.
ever. Because I didn't call the ending coming where it's like, oh yeah, his
No,
name is
I didn't get it.
Ryuma, and that's
Yeah.
Ryuma over there. And it's like, wow, I really thought like, huh, Oda wrote this as a one-off, but gave it room to grow and breathe, and could become something more someday. But
Yeah,
no, I
I'm
mean,
right
he
there with
ties
you.
it all together in a nice little bow. I just thought the world was a
Mhm.
bit bigger. I
Yeah.
will say the one thing that bugged me is they are definitely not in Wano,
Yeah.
but it even then with the post credit scene confirms that he's from Wano, and I was just like, what?
Yeah. It's an odd choice because it doesn't
Yeah,
look
I
like
mean,
Wano at all.
obviously, 30 years ago, whatever it may have been, Oda
Mhm.
wasn't thinking, okay, how do I set up Wano? So I give
No,
him a
right,
pass on
right.
that. And I like that he tied it in and made this thing hundreds of years ago what the modern day is like, or,
Mhm.
ties them together. But
Yeah.
it just bugged me that we're in some kind of Western town where everyone's wearing t shirts and jeans. Like,
Yeah.
none of the samurai aspects outside of Ryuma.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to reconcile and fit it into, the One Piece world of whenever this takes place
Yeah,
in respect to everything else,
I
but
mean, I
yeah.
have to accept it because that's how it is. I'm not going to say it's a plot hole, but it's definitely a discrepancy.
Yep. Yep. I just kind of take it as one of those things that like the anime might do that the manga didn't, and it's definitely not canon. But in the sense this because this is canon, we're
Yeah,
just kind of
it's
have to.
canon enough. Like,
Yeah.
it'll never come
Exactly.
up, it'll never be referenced, but it did historically
Yeah.
happen. And we
Hmm.
just have to accept that there's some kind of like parallel dimension going on here.
Yeah. A little
Like,
bit of timey wimey mumbo jumbo or
yeah, I
something.
mean, you just kind of have to swallow that pill and accept that it took place in two different but the same universes.
Yep. But also, if you didn't know this takes place in the world of One Piece, and you get to the end and you see Ryuma handing the sword to Zoro, like that's a cool pop off moment, and
It
you kind of
really
forget that
was.
it takes
Uh,
place in a Western town. But
Not only that, I just love the whole line about I can see you're a true warrior. You showed shame. I
hmm
don't need to kill you. I'll accept your sword, but let's pretend this never happened. And
yep,
it's just
yeah,
you can see Zoro being everything Ryuma is. So I mean, not like we didn't know this before. You need to see this, but we just know he's gonna climb to those heights of legendary status.
yeah. It's really cool passing of the torch moment from one
Hmm.
main character to another one.
Especially knowing now, like they are directly canonically related. Just getting to see
Yeah,
that scene again with a different context.
it's really cool seeing through that lens now that we've gotten this animation out.
Honestly, I think
Um,
side note, Thriller Bark is definitely the arc that is aged the best in terms of recontextualization. Getting to see
mm,
Kuma, getting to
well,
see Ryuma, getting to know exactly who Kaido is that destroyed Moria.
I'll counter with Skypiea, but Thriller Bark's also not a
Okay,
bad choice.
you're not wrong though. But we're not here to talk about that. We were here to talk about Monsters 103 Mercies Dragon Damnation. What a name. What a series. What a one off.
I got a
What?
couple more points before
Okay,
we
no,
start
sure,
wrapping
sure.
up.
Yeah, no, I misread you then. Go on, please.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had another point of contention with this. I think when Ryuma actually comes in and kills the dragon, I think that looked a little lackluster visually speaking.
Oh, I loved it.
Um, just comparing it to when he defeats Shirano like 2 minutes before, and that looked incredible. But even comparing it to the one shot, like Oda put a lot of effort into that double page spread where he actually beheads the dragon, and it looks really cool and really badass. Here, it just kind of felt a little lackluster. Um, but also another point, I watched this in the original Japanese audio, but I did hear the first couple of seconds in English, and I couldn't help but notice. I don't know if you got this, that the narrator is the voice actor for Zoro in
I did
both
notice that
the
because,
English dub and the Japanese sub.
yeah,
I thought that
Mandy
was very cool.
wanted to watch it with me, and she doesn't
Hmm.
want to read more than she has to in terms of subtitles, so
That's fair.
English.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you listen to the Japanese. How's the voice acting in that?
Oh, great. They have some really big voice actors that haven't been in One Piece stuff before, with one exception. I'll get to that. Um, but they have big name Japanese voice actors for Flare and
Ah,
Ryuma. And I forget who voices Shirano. I didn't look into that too much. But
I
the guy that
didn't.
voices
Mhm.
DR, I did look into this. So I'm like, surely one of them has to have some role in One Piece at some point. And, Ryuma, no. Flare, no, even though they're big name voice actors over in the Land of the Rising Sun. But DR, our boy DR, that one guy who blew a dragon horn and has like 5 lines, he voices Apu and Thatch in the original One Piece series. So good for him. Keeping it in the family, I guess.
Wow. I was gonna
Um,
say, so yeah. Aside from Chris Sabat, I didn't recognize anyone.
mhm.
But just really stellar performances across the board. And I meant to look them up. I hadn't looked them up as of yet, but if you're on the Googles, you can definitely do me a search here.
Okay.
DR in the English version definitely had a voice that sounded familiar. So I want to know if they pulled the same in only one piece other voice for the same weird guy.
Okay. So I'm looking up Kyle McCarley voices DR. I'm gonna quick do a double check on some of these fellas.
But yeah,
So
he
now
I'd
up here.
say was the really standout performance. I love a good like whiny sniveling voice.
Yeah. No, but the guy that voices Ryuma. Okay, so the guy that voices Ryuma in the English dub, catch this, voices Odin in the English dub.
Okay,
Um,
in fairness, I haven't heard the English dub of Wano.
yeah, I haven't either, so I wouldn't have been able to pull
Interesting.
that either. The guy that voices
I like that they're both canonically Wano E's
guy that voices
Wanesian?
Shirano
Wanites.
voices
Monopolians.
Don Quixote Rocinante. So
Ooh.
there's that.
So they just had a lot of crossover I didn't recognize. In fairness,
I
I
think,
haven't watched the dub since like Saba Odi.
and also to your credit, I think the Japanese voice acting pool is a lot bigger than the English
Yeah.
anime
Oh,
dub voice
for
acting pool.
sure.
Now let's see here. Who is this guy? I think the one guy I'm having trouble finding any One Piece roles is the guy that voices DR.
And if I got it wrong, I'm welcome to admit that. He just sounded
Um,
familiar as all.
yeah, I'm doing a quick drive by,
Another
look him
point
up.
of contention I did have, maybe you can clear this up for me.
Okay.
We get to where DR blows the dragon horn,
Yeah.
and then he cracks it, and then the dragon summoned. But later we find out that wasn't the real one; that was a fake one. Here's the real one. So why
Hmm.
did a dragon get summoned if we used a fake one?
Um, yeah, that's pretty straight adaptation of what happens in the original one shot. It's pretty unclear. I've just
Okay,
kind of decided to interpret it as the one that he said was real was actually a fake, and he was trying to fake him out so he didn't get
I mean
cut.
that's possible. You know, we'll never know whether or not he was lying. I'm gonna choose to
Hmm.
believe that there were multiple dragon horns,
Yeah.
and the good one, the real one, is just the one that lets you control them and just not summon them.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, but I could see it
It's
going either way. Definitely could have been just another bluff.
hmm one more point. Actually, I got 2 more points, and then I'm done. Um, One, the comedic bits hit a lot better seeing it animated versus seeing it in the manga. I don't think Oda really hit his stride as far as
Mhm.
comedic timing and paneling in the manga. That being said, the paneling in the original one shot's still really good because it's Oda. He's always been good at that. And then two, the person that directed this also directed a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen, including the movie Jujutsu Kaisen Zero. So and I kind of noticed it looked really nice, visually
Get
stunning.
over your Jujutsu Kaisen. Nobody likes it.
Only everybody does. You're just the odd one out. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, that's all I got.
Okay, that's
I
all you
really like
got?
it.
Well,
Hmm.
guys, this has been our review and discussion. I have to look over and read the title every time. 103 Mercy's Dragon Damnation. It's just such a mouthful.
Oh, man,
But this is the
yeah.
backstory of Ryuma we've all been waiting for. Definitely go recommend. I'm going to go check out the original manga. I'm sure Patrick could recommend it to you. If you
Hmm.
haven't seen this series, jump into Netflix. It's only about 25 minutes long. I say series, it's a one off episode. It's pretty good, very well done artistically and voice acting and all that. Highly recommend. But this has been our bonus episode of Opum. Guys, we will check you next time. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're liking the content. Comment down below your thoughts on the series. We're getting better at these outros. We'll keep them coming at
Sure.
you.